It doesn't really matter if you have a very beautifully designed website with a lot of good menus, wonderful colors, whatever. But if the website has a problem in terms of navigation, you are going to have a high bounce rate. You're going to create for your users, for your visitors, a very crappy experience. Okay, so in today's conversation, what I want to do, I want to talk to you about the top proven ways that we have found whereby you can actually improve website navigation. Let me first give you the overview about the whole topic. See, when we talk about website navigation, let me just quickly define what a website navigation system is. So a website navigation system really includes all the various menus, breadcrumbs, and internal links that allow users to access different sections and pages of a website. And the complexity of the navigation system depends on the website's structure and the content the site offers its visitors. So when you really think about it, a good navigation system reduces the bounce rate and optimizes page structure for both search engines and user experience. It's not just about trying to please Google's algorithm. Yeah, that's kind of important too. But you need to make sure that you offer your visitors great experience. By the way, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. And so in today's conversation, I'm just talking to you quickly about the top proven ways to improve website navigation. Let me first give you a few examples of website navigation. So here are three popular types of website navigation. So you have the top menu, you have the footer menu, and you have the sidebar. So the top menu is the primary website navigation bar that's located at the top of every page of on a website. And the top menu is really a horizontal navigation that typically includes a size logo and key navigation options. And what we have seen in our research here is that large-scale websites like Amazon typically use top menus to provide comprehensive navigation for their sites. And then you have the footer menu. This is considered good practice to add navigation links to the most important pages of a website in the footer of a web page, because website visitors who scroll all the way to the bottom of a page can use links in a footer to navigate to. Okay, and footer menu also great for search engine optimization because they build relevant links into pages throughout your site. And then you have the sidebar. The sidebar is a vertical menu positioned on either the left or right side of a page. This type of navigation is less frequently used than the top menu, but can be seen on many sites such as the New York Times, okay, where it's used in conjunction with the top menu navigation system. The whole thing is about creating the best user experience. UX is really what drives everything. Let me give you a few pro tips. When we talk about improving website navigation, I want to share with you the 4 basic principles of an effective navigation system. So if you're listening to me right now, you have a website and you are really trying to improve the navigation system. First, we need to think about visibility. Visibility is really important. Make sure the navigation is visible and easily accessible from every page of the website. It's relatively easy to make the navigation visible when you have a limited number of navigation options, but it can be challenging when you design a large-scale website with many subcategories. So keep in mind, when building your navigation, you want to prioritize you want to make your top-level navigation options prominent on your site and very easy to find. The navigation has to be easy to find. By the way, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about, I'm giving you top proven ways to improve website navigation. Okay, so besides visibility, again, I'm speaking here to you about the 4 basic principles of an effective navigation system. So we have visibility, we have predictability, we have clarity, and we have consistency. Let me quickly talk to you about predictability. So no matter where visitors land on your website, whether it is on a home page or a nested page, it should be pretty easy for them to understand where they are within the site's hierarchy and where they can go from their current location. You want to always communicate the visitor's current location at a glance. For example, you can use the page header, and you need to place menus in areas where visitors expect to find them, typically the top or bottom part of a web page. Clarity is also quite essential. So when it comes to product design, The words we use in UI matter. So every navigation option should have a clear label that accurately describes the content on each page. The user should really understand what will happen when he or she clicks on the navigation option before he or she does it. What about consistency? Well, consistency is really key here. Good design is consistent design. You need to keep the navigation menu consistent across all pages of your website. Whenever possible, you want to display the same top-level navigation options in every part of the website because it will give users a sense of stability. Now let me give you the steps you need to really follow right now if you want to design excellent navigation. Number one, I want you to invest in information architecture design. This is so critical. We see a lot of website that are designed using no code, and they really make a mistake when it comes to architecture design. It's really important to understand that when we talk about information architecture design, this is a process of organizing content in logical groups that make sense to visitors. Okay, those logical groups must make sense to visitors. Proper IA design will help you group related pages and sections together and rearrange them in a logical order that makes sense both to your target audience and search engines. And information architecture design, IA design, should be finished before the product team starts to design the navigation system. Okay, it's really, and one thing we want to say here is that after analyzing this for the last 20 years, we have found that IA is rooted in user research. You want to take into account the needs and preferences of your target audience and understand how they interact with a website to design a system that will match their needs. It has to match their needs. You're not building a website for yourself. You are building a website for your users. Okay. So number one, you want to invest in information architecture design. Number two, you want to design a sitemap. A sitemap really is a skeleton of your website navigation structure. Typically, a sitemap is created as part of an information architecture design, and it basically shows the hierarchy of the web pages that the website will have. Sitemap design is an iterative process. In other words, it constantly changes. Okay, so once a team creates the initial version of a sitemap, they need to focus on reducing the number of levels the hierarchy has. The deeper a hierarchy becomes, the more likely visitors are to become disoriented. Most of the time, it's possible to design a fairly complex website with 3 or 4 levels of hierarchy. Okay, and site visitors should be able to access the deepest nested page in the website within 3 clicks. Very important, 3 clicks, no more. Number 3, you want to place menus where visitors expect to see them. Okay, it's really important because your website is not the only website where visitors are just going to get information, right? I mean, you got to check out your visitor's website. You got to check out what's really considered best practices in the industry. So you have to construct a website based on the best practices in the industry, especially when it comes to menu placement. Okay, and it's really important to understand that users spend most of their time on other websites, and they prefer your site to work the same way as the sites they are already familiar with. When it comes to navigation design, this means that the navigation system should be designed to match the audience's expectations. And when visitors land on a new website, they expect to see navigation at the top of the page. Okay, so this is important. Now, one thing I want to say here is that you want to constantly try to see what works for you. It has to work for you. So, and don't forget responsive design also. Okay, your website should be clearly accessible on all types of devices. Very, very critical. And another thing I want to mention real quick here is that people expect to see certain things at certain places, but at the same time, this has to be clear to your specific brand. It has to be clear to your specific I would say your specific website. Okay, and don't forget what I said about responsive design, right? You want to make sure that you have your navigation is clearly easy, whether people are accessing your website from a desktop, a computer, from a laptop, from a mobile phone, whatever, okay? And it's really important to understand that you want to pay attention also to something called hidden navigation. So hidden navigation is more likely to reduce content discoverability on desktop than on mobile, okay? And so you want to make sure that you pay attention to that. In other words, what I want to say here is that when users had to discover content that required the use of a navigation, they were more likely to fail on the desktop than on mobile. Okay, so you have to really pay attention to those, because the bottom line here is that you want to make sure that your content is searchable, is clickable, and is reachable. Searchable, clickable, and reachable. This is why I was talking earlier about making sure that the deepest content or the deepest page on your site is within 3 or 4 clicks. Maximum 3, not 4. 3, okay? This is really important. Number 4, you want to keep the navigation system simple. Okay, so if you want to improve website navigation, number 1, you want to invest in information architecture design. Number 2, you want to design a sitemap. Number 3, you want to place menus where visitors expect to see them. Number 4, you want to keep the navigation system simple. By the way, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We're having a conversation about the top proven ways to improve website navigation. One thing that's very important to understand here is that when we talk about keeping the navigation system simple, I'm basically telling you to avoid cluttering the navigation with too many options. For example, when designing a top-level navigation menu, try to limit the number of menu items to 7. Use the drop-down menu to reveal subcategories. Okay, so this is really important. You don't want to have a lot of like sub-menus and so on and so forth. Okay, and you want to offer breadcrumbs. So breadcrumbs are a navigation aid that is used to orient the site visitors. So if your website has a hierarchy with multiple levels, more than 4, breadcrumbs are a great way to show visitors where they are on your website. And you want to avoid icon-only navigation. Icons can save screen space, but they can also make the navigation experience more difficult for your visitors. Why? Because if your target audience is used to seeing content, not icons, on your competitor's website, and they come to your website and they see something different, imagine the user experience. Okay, so and one thing you need to understand here is that a limited number of universally understood icons, such as home, search, and print, exist. But apart from those, other icons can be unfamiliar to many people. That's why if you want to use icons, it's always better to accompany them with labels. When you include a label along with an icon, you reduce ambiguity, and you have to reduce ambiguity. Okay, this has to be something that you want to pursue really continually. The next thing I want you to do here is to offer search functionality. Boss, this is so important. I mean, if your website has hundreds of pages, you should offer a search bar along with navigation menus. Search is not a replacement for navigation, but rather a shortcut that allows visitors who know what they're looking for. Search is particularly helpful for e-commerce website because it will basically enable users to go straight to a particular product page or category of products. Because the last thing you want is you want to reduce bounce rate, right? You want to reduce bounce rate. So if you want to reduce bounce rate, then if users are able to find what they're looking for real quick, this will actually increase your retention rate, which is great, right? Because there is an inverse correlation between your retention rate and your bounce rate. So number 5, you want to offer search functionality on your website. Number 6, you want to optimize navigation for different devices. This goes back to what I said earlier about responsive design. Okay, people can access your website from various types of devices, so it's vital to ensure the navigation system you've designed works equally well for small mobile devices and large desktop screens. The cool thing here is that nowadays, if you actually buy a template, a website template from a vendor, like a pre-built website template. Those come already responsibly designed, so you don't have to do anything. Okay, and because the whole thing is on this channel, we focus on no code, like codeless design, codeless web design. So if you're able to have that, this is kind of fine. One thing I need to say also here is that you want to utilize the empty space you have, okay? Because generally, the more white space you have, the more navigation options you can show to visitors, okay? And this is kind of important element. And now, size navigation options also are important, but you want to size the navigation options appropriately. So the size of your navigation options directly impacts the comfort of interaction. So tiny navigation options like CTAs that are located close to each other increase the chance that users will accidentally choose the wrong option. Okay, so if you optimize your design for mobile, ensure that navigation options have a size of at least 44 by 44 CSS pixels. So this will help you a lot actually when it comes to responsive design, but also navigation on mobile devices. And remember, nowadays you have more than three-quarters of transactions happening from mobile. If you have an e-commerce platform, if you have an e-commerce website, this is where you want to really focus on. Even if you don't have an e-commerce platform or an e-commerce website, you still want to have a website that is easily accessible from a mobile, but also a website that is easily navigable. Like the navigation should be very simple from a mobile device. Okay, this will help you. Going back to what I said earlier, this will help you actually increase your retention rate. And again, if you increase your retention rate, Google is going to send you more traffic because they see that folks are spending more time on your website. So you're gradually building authority. Okay, and once you build authority, what will happen here is that Google will start ranking you on the first page or second page or third page, which you should want anyway. Number 7, you want to validate navigation. So this is really important. Validation of navigation is so important. I just want to take 2 or 3 minutes to actually talk about that. See, no matter how much time you invest in your design, you must always validate the navigation with real users. So the thing here is that what we have seen in our research is that a lot of people, a lot of times, small business owners or entrepreneurs, they believe that they have such a wonderful website and they're not even spending time when it comes to the validation. Okay, and when we talk about validation, we're speaking about not only validation, the core validation, but also A/B testing. You want to test you want to test your navigation with real visitors and refine it based on their feedback. You want to conduct usability testing sessions with users who represent your target audience to identify areas where users face friction, such as being unable to find a navigation option. And the task you will use for usability testing should match the real interaction scenarios on your website. Okay, let me give you an example. Let's say you design an e-commerce website. Okay, and so if you have an e-commerce website, normally a visitor who comes to your website wants a particular product, right? Or they want a particular set of products. So you got to have a search bar that allows them to actually search for that product. And they don't have to go through they don't have to spend 30 minutes or 1 hour on your website. No, they come just for one specific product. So they should be able to find that. So finding a product will be one of the most common tasks for your visitors if you have an e-commerce website. So this is important that therefore that you have a search bar, you have search bar functionality, that you also make sure that you're properly describing. So the product description on all items, so the description on all products on your website should be clear, okay? Should be SEO enriched, should be SEO driven. So there should be some keywords that actually determine the importance of the product description, but also the title, okay? And one thing I also want to say before closing today's conversation here is that don't forget that everything I'm telling you is subject to change, because if Google changes, then you want to make sure that you actually adapt to Google changes. I mean, the change can come from Google, can come from Bing, can come from Yahoo search. It really depends. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I was just talking to you about top proven ways to improve website navigation. So I spoke to you. I gave you the overview. I explained to you what a navigation system is. I gave you a few pro tips in terms of visibility, predictability, clarity, and consistency. We spoke about the steps you need to really pay attention to when it comes to website navigation. Okay, so we have invest in information architecture design, design a sitemap, place menus where visitors expect to see them. You want to keep the navigation system simple. You want to offer search functionality. You want to optimize navigation for different devices. You want to validate navigation. Thank you so much. I will speak to you another time, but until then, remember, stay marvelous.